book. I mean, there's some books that I get a hold of that I enjoy, and we have a lot of authors on this show, but I don't think this book, probably more than any other book that we've interacted with, and my editor's going to kill me for saying this, but connects to a lot what we're trying to do as a ministry. So you actually provided a path forward. But talk about the book for a moment. Let's talk about how did this book, or why did this book need to be written? I have my own reasons why I think it needed to be written, but I want to hear your reasons why you wanted to write this book.
So I did a more academic book for Zondervan about 8 or 9 years ago called Their Rock is Not as Our Rock, and it's a Christian theology of religion. So how does Christianity understand what might be called other religions? And the model that I use there in cultural engagement is, we'll probably talk about it a bit later on, is this idea of subversive fulfillment. So the idea that the gospel both confronts and connects with culture at the same time. And a lot of that that area was in missiology, dealing with world religions. How does Christianity engage with Hindu, Islam, Buddhism, etc., etc.? So I've done a lot of work there. And then increasingly at seminary, I was trying to teach culture and apologetics to a kind of a Western post-Christendom kind of context where we are. And I just realized that the same theology, the same anthropology that we were engaging other religions is exactly the same theology and anthropology that we need to be engaging with all human beings in the West, and that we need that kind of missionary mindset, cross-cultural mindset. And so the tools, I'm sitting on this book, I'm sitting on the shoulders of one giant in particular, who's a guy called J.H. Bavinck. So you might have heard of the theologian Herman Bavinck, who was a very famous kind of systematician. Well, this is his nephew, J.H., and he lived 1895 to 1964. And he was a missionary with the Dutch Reformed Church in Indonesia. And he's my hero, really. I mean, in terms of just a prophetic way of having the Bible in one hand, understanding the culture in the other hand. And so making faith magnetic is really a kind of a recontextualization of Bavinck's tools called the magnetic points. The purpose is to try, how do we get traction in the West, especially, increasingly with people who not just are offended by our faith, but actually can't be bothered. They're just living their lives. They wouldn't call themselves religious. They're the religious nuns, I suppose you'd call them, which increasingly is how American Christianity, but much more in the UK, is defining itself. So the book is trying to lay a biblical framework to say there's always a point of contact, and these magnetic points, which we can talk about, are a framework for us to get traction, to be able to show how Jesus is the subversive fulfillment of their hopes and desires in a way that is evangelistic, apologetic, culturally critiquing, but also being constructive as well. So originally the book was courses that I was teaching on evangelism and apologetics, although I hope you realize at the end of the book, there's a big point on discipleship there about how our evangelism needs to flow from our discipleship. But it's all about how do we understand the world through the word. And this is a particular framework for doing that. So that's how the book came to be.